Another thing I was fascinated with this particular piece was the shadows.
I want to talk first about the creative process, about how you started this new work and what were some of the things that you were thinking about when you got into the studio and started to work together.
It's the creative process is always not very clear, and it's not so easy to put into words. But we always, Hedi and I always start with, usually we start with a theme we want to work on. And in this case, it's Moi&lesAutres, me and the others. It's obviously the title says it. It's about how we relate to one another, and how somehow, depending on who you're with, or for example, if I'm with the music or with a person, you're always a different person when how the relationship changes you somehow. And also in flamenco, it's always a group thing. It's always, there's a lot of cohesion between the music and the dance. It's one. It's many people doing one together. And in this piece, we're working, there's a lot of duets, solos. So we tried to sort of break that.
Well, that's one of the things that is so striking about seeing this is you each have your own, you're the dancer and the singer and the guitarist as it's listed, but you actually all have many more jobs than that in this performance. So maybe, Hedi, you could talk a little bit about of this notion of sort of breaking apart that unit and how you started to rehearse with just different pairings of people and the skills that they brought.
The thing is, when we get in the studio, we start to work on the space, not just on making a piece of music for a dancer to interpret, but how we can all use our bodies and live in the space and make the space appear, make the emptiness appear between us. We worked a lot on that to make the void appear, to be very distant ones from another, to be like try to work on like instead of one group, 4 solitudes, and how these solitudes meet and come and go. Yeah.
But you're so in it as the dancer with the most virtuosic skill set, but then you also have to come out and give notes to everybody and looking at how the whole thing is put together. Could you just talk a little bit about wearing those different hats of choreographer and performer in the work?
It's very hard, but luckily we work with Hedi. We work together directing, so we can have our outside eyes, and we've been working also with Hélène Messier, rehearsal director, who helped a lot that way. We've been working since 2010 really with musicians in movement, and I can't really remember how it came exactly about that we decided to do this, but definitely one of the things was that I was always told, oh, it's a solo, you're doing a solo. And I was like, no, there's 4 people.
You mean in your training?
Yeah. When we were working in more traditional formats, people would say, oh, you're doing a solo show, and we're 4 on stage, right? So to me, it's amazing to really be able to have, to use the bodies of the musicians in movement and to fully use them, you know.
So you call attention to them in a different kind of way once you
completely.
Make them mobile.
Yeah, they live the music very differently because they're in such different positions, and so for me it's very challenging, but it's also very rewarding because the result is so different, really.
So Hedi, I remember last time you were here, you were talking about that there's an extensive repertoire of songs that you can draw on. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you find the right material to bring into the studio. And then I want to ask how you two work together.
for this piece, flamenco is a collection of styles, and for this piece we choose to concentrate on one of them. It's called romances. It's really old flamenco style that comes from the medieval troubadour singing and that kind of universe. And we choose that style of singing because it can adapt to various forms of accompaniment. We can do it really rhythmical, like we did in the piece with the guitar and the cajon, the one piece we do all four of us. Or it can be more evocative and more free, like the double bass, for example.
But so, Carline, I've been thinking, that you're playing within a very traditional form. Could you say something about what structures you feel like you have to stay within and what rules you feel like you can break in composing music?
Flamenco for me, well, it comes from the singing, but as you can see in that show, there's a lot of pieces where there's no singing too. So I always kind of work this kind of the same way. I want to create different ambiences and then also some musical phrases that in different rhythms, but the same musical phrase that comes back in different pieces. And the most traditional part of the show is normally when they're singing in that kind of proposal, because the flamenco singing is traditional, and the flamenco comes from that. But even in that part, we also tried to integrate contemporary elements to the way that I'm accompanying him. Mm-hmm. As for myself as a musician, how can I express the more traditional part, or where can I cross the line or not? I don't really ask myself that question anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm from Montreal. I lived in Spain for 10 years. I worked in Spain for 9 years. And now I kind of just want to do who I am, mm-hmm. not trying to imitate anybody else.
Myriam, it seems like I could ask the same question of you about what you feel like if you feel like there are things that are essential to keep related to the traditional form. Yeah. You give us some hints with the fan and the fringe, but then it's very different. The first actions we really see you doing are quite disconnected and do not have that flow. Mm-hmm. So could you talk a little bit about that?
I've done a lot of traditional flamenco. I've learned things very, very well. And at one point it's just, who am I and how do I move? So whether it has an aesthetic that is, more pure or more traditional or more classical, at one point it doesn't mean much. For me, what means most is to be genuine and to be true to my feelings. And somehow, I think also we have an idea of what flamenco is, but when you dig, you realize that what a good flamenco dancer is very personal. What I need to do is to be personal and to be myself, and I don't really restrict myself to, okay, is this line flamenco? I try to go in the breathing, in the sense, in the interpretation, and trust that that's going to go to the audience and touch them.